This week in a conversation, I have the privilege to welcome Tanvi Ghandi. She's an executive producer from Mumbai. We are going to talk about her latest work, and also we'll be talking about what it means to be a young executive producer and also be productive at doing so. But before we get into the video, I just want to take this short moment to remind all viewers that it's important to subscribe to this channel. The best way to support it is to subscribe to it. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it's going to you on your portable as soon as possible. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this morning or this evening, it depends on where you are. And I'm talking with an impeccable executive producer, a film producer. I'm speaking with Tanvi Ghandi. She's joining from Mumbai, India. Interesting. So Tanvi, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isma, for finding me worthy for your time and a bit of conversation. Thank you. I'm really grateful for this. Thanks.
Okay, so Tanvi, would you please tell the viewers of CSMS Magazine, who is Tanvi Ghandi?
Tanvi Ghandi is a little girl, I would say, still at 43, to be 43, living in Mumbai, working in the film industry here in India, and trying to work and put together the right kind of people, teams, so we make some interesting cinema, some interesting content. But the most important thing that I feel that Tanvi Ghandi today is a person who would like to have the right kind of people together to make this journey interesting. And that's who I think I am. I'd like to be that person who will make it fun for you to be a part of this journey of making interesting content. That's who I am professionally, and personally as a person, I am somebody who's committed to doing the job that she's taken up. She is still looking for love, hasn't found one. And I think loves family, loves to travel, loves friends, loves to hang out with close people, and build a lovely network of like-minded tribe. That's who I am.
Beautiful. So let me ask you a question, because I know that in your productions, every single one of them has a compelling message. So my first question, how did you come to develop a passion for filmmaking?
You know, Dr. Isma, I think anything requires a lot of passion, interest first of all, and then it needs to be followed by passion, because you never know where that journey is going to take you. The only thing that will take you forward, I feel, is passion. And filmmaking for me, very interestingly, was when we were growing up in India, this was early 2000s, late 1990s, when globalization came in, and then we had cable television, and suddenly from national TV, we were watching television and series and shows that were bringing us content from across the world. For example, Bold and Beautiful and Santa Barbara. So nice. Suddenly, a few others that were very interesting, Remington Steele. And so we got exposed as young Indians from, let's say, the big cities, to a world that was very similar to us, emotions that were very similar to us, but were outside of India. And suddenly it opened up a door of an opportunity to say, you know what, I want to do something in the creative field, in the field of this creation. I didn't know it was films. It was not very comfortable at that time to tell your parents that I want to be a part of the film industry in India, quite honestly, and as a female. And I wasn't even living in Mumbai. I used to live in Delhi at that time. And to even go to them and say that, now I don't want to do engineering or medical, the usual profession that Indians are kind of pushed to do. It was difficult to even tell them that that's what I want to do. But what I did know was that I want to be a part of this project where people come together and they tell this story, and this story will live beyond us. It is for posterity. And that essentially brought me into the, my love for production came in there. So it wasn't about direction or, but it was more about, I want to be the project head. I want to get all the people together, and I want to tell the right story. And that's how the passion for filmmaking began many, many, many years ago.
Let me ask you something. Did you also develop some sort of an interest in becoming an actress?
It's interesting you asked this, because when I was really young, when I was in college, I got, so I did end up doing people's short films, how you make films in film schools, and you're always volunteering to say, I can come and do this. I was also an anchor, a weather anchor and a TV anchor with a news channel. So I have faced the camera, but I don't think I was ever interested in really being an actor. I thought I couldn't. I don't think even I have the talent, very honestly, Dr. Isma, but I also think that it's another craft. It's, and I have a lot of respect for actors, honestly, but it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the person behind the camera and choosing, and choosing the right people to tell the story. That's what I wanted to do.
But here comes my question, Tanvi. Do you think to be an impressive executive director or executive producer, in a production company, do you have to have some skills when it comes to acting to be very effective?
For acting?
Well,
I think what you do need is extreme confidence to be in front of a camera, first of all, right? You need to know that I can do this. How good or bad you are is a process. It's a craft that you have to keep honing, but I feel like you need to have this unabashed sort of belief in yourself that I'll be able to convey this emotion the right way. There's no right or wrong in acting also, right? The same expression or same emotion can be told in many different ways. But I need to have the honesty within to be able to express this emotion. So I feel like it's not like you need to be trained. I feel like you need to understand, even if you're not being formally trained, it's important to watch a lot of stuff, read a lot of stuff, observe a lot of people to be better actors, And I also feel one more thing, to be a better actor, you should be on a film set and maybe even try other departments. Do get into production, do a film, even if you're an actor, to understand how a film gets made. Because a film is a medium that requires all the different departments and creative energies to come together for that one frame.
It takes a village to produce something.
It's a village, let me tell you. And as a producer, every day you're carrying, these people together because eventually they are sort of reporting into you. They are reporting into you because you are handling the monies, and everybody is eventually responsible for that money. So, you're carrying those people's energy every single day with you, and it's a lot of people that make it happen. It's the most collaborative.
My question, in choosing, for example, a cast for a new production, do you always take part of the auditioning process?
As a producer, you are definitely a part of the, process, for sure. But I would believe and I feel that the main decision of whether a person should be taken in or not is a director's call. The director has to be convinced that this person makes sense for this role. As a producer, you step in to say whether this person is saleable or not. See, eventually films are business. So there is a balance that is required between, which is unfortunate in some ways, I feel, which is about creatively this works, and from a business point of view, from a budget point of view, does this person work enough or not? And then what can you do to pump up the project or to pad it for it to stand for the budget that it's coming to? You know what I mean? But yes, you as a producer, you are a part of the auditioning process.
Okay.
May not be for choosing, but you're a part of the process.
I had a conversation with your colleague, Andrani Ray, back in December.
Ray, yes, she's extremely talented.
Exactly. Yeah, and she was very frantic about the auditioning process, and she said that sometimes it's very hard when you have to tell someone you're very good, but unfortunately you're not good enough for this particular project. You know, and but how do you feel as a producer? Because you have to be the one who ultimately sign off on that production. So how do you feel when you were dealing with, let's say, directors, you know, carrying a message that they might not like? So how do you deal with that? Because you have such a very lovely face. I don't know how you really talk to them. Could you please share that with the audience?
Thank you. You know, I feel like what is the most important thing, Dr. Isma, is that you have to make people feel like we're all one team. That is very important. There is no hierarchy here. Everybody's doing a particular job because that's what they're meant to do. And all of us together will create the film. So if my role is to probably break the news of that we loved you, but we would go ahead with you, I just have to do it very sweetly, but very clearly. And I think that's important, to be able to convey that not just to the cast, but sometimes you can't even take certain crew members in, right? Because the monies don't work out, the budgets don't suit us, or something else, you know. And when you have to sort of break that news that, you know, maybe next time, I have your number, we'll be in touch. And you sort of try and, you know, sort of make it as soft and sweet as possible. But it's, you know, it's a part of the process. You've got to do what you've got to do, really. And yes, you have to be very gentle with people. You have to, because, you know, people come with a lot of hope, and there's a lot of ego that you have to sort of calm down. You know, you have to make them feel like you were not bad, you were just not good enough for this, or you were not fitting in this part, you were still great. So you have to sort of mollycoddle them slightly.
So Tanvi, could you please educate us? I mean, in this process, as an executive producer, you more in touch with the marketing department, with the media, or you also take a heavy, you know, part of the production process? Because the reason I'm asking you this is that, okay, I have spoken before with many film directors. And one of the biggest things is to find the right story, a story we know that will ultimately sell. So, exactly. As you as EP, so how do you really collaborate with somebody like Andrani Ray, for example?
So, you know, so let's say an executive producer is a person who executes the production, right? So I have been an executive producer in big companies where the production, I'm in charge of the production. So let's say a budget gets locked, and then it's my responsibility to produce the film and deliver it in the budget that has been assigned. So I primarily then focus my energies, and my job profile ends up becoming more towards producing. Right. And may not necessarily be at that time about marketing, but you are involved. You are involved from the beginning till the end in your film, where you are an executive producer, from arriving at the budget, to crewing up, to getting the cast in place, to locations, to shoot, to delivery of shoot, to final product, and then to give it to the next team for, you know, the release. So you're actually a part of everything. But now that I've sort of graduated to being an independent producer, where I have now, where I'm collaborating with young, newer, filmmakers like Indrani, where the process then is beyond executive producing, right? Then it becomes you are the producer, so the money is yours as well. And who comes on board? Where do we sell it? How do we make it? How do we make it in the budget? All of it then is my responsibility, and it's been fantastic to collaborate with Indrani. And I think that is the thing. We ended up becoming a great team through the pandemic when we produced, when I produced those 3 films that she wrote and directed. And I think anything becomes wonderful when the director and producer are in absolute sync. One cannot make the film without the other. That is the main thing. You do need to have a collaborative partner, very strong both ways, to be able to come out with the best version of the script that is on paper. That journey from paper to screen is the massive journey which is to be done together as a strong team, and it was wonderful to be working with somebody like her, who was very clear with what she had written. She was very clear with what she wanted to say. She was very clear that it needed to be black and white. And I could only support that. Because as a producer, Dr. Isma, you go by instinct. See, you don't know what the end result of the film will be, but you go by the instinct of what you read. And then when you talk to the writer director, and then you're convinced because they are convinced, then you get onto the journey together.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened. And it was so wonderful, because when you see your films together, and you feel like we did well, we did good, in limited resources, we did good.
I remember one thing I asked her in these film Love in the time of Corona,
yes.
Which reminds me of Love in the Time of Cholera by Marquez. Yeah, so it's such a compelling, interesting theme, and especially we're living in this era of pandemic. The pandemic. It's a story that should be an interest to everyone. So I was really, I fell in love with the story immediately. One thing I asked her, and this particular series, I saw that the more acting, then also speaking, the speech was somewhat reduced, and the gestures actually ultimately send the message. So were you part of this process of making sure that this is how it came across to viewers?
So I think the command over the craft that Indrani had, I did not wish to step in, because she was very clear with exactly what she wanted to say and how she wanted to say. She hadn't made any film before this, and I had been in talks with her and in touch with her for over, close to a decade, and we didn't get a chance to work together.
Right.
And but when I read what she'd written, when I spoke to her, I knew that she knows what she has to do. And the fact that there will be less dialogues, the fact that there will be these silent moods, moments, the fact that there will be a lot of these deeper emotions, gestures that will be unspoken, was her style completely. And I loved it. And I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to support it completely, and I wanted to support her by bringing in everything that I could as a producer to what this would elevate the script to. If there was a requirement of a certain kind of location, then I'm going to make sure I get it no matter what. If there was a certain requirement to bring in a certain prop or a certain crew member, then that's my job as a producer to bring it to the table so that she is able to tell the story better. So I'll be very honest, I did not tell her, let's take the shot this way or whatever, because I was enjoying her process. Okay. And we gave each other a lot of space in what she was doing and what I was doing, which were 2 different departments, 2 different roles. There was a lot of love and trust, and that's what's the most important thing.
Well said. Let me ask you something, because I know in every piece of art, there is there are two things. Okay, it's okay to produce a work of art, but it's in order for that work to be critically acclaimed, because I know many of your productions have been critically acclaimed. So how do you feel, that your work, your production, something that you have produced has been well received?
It's so well, it's so important what you say, Dr. Isma, because at the end of the day, everybody's working hard to make a film, right? Every single person on a film set is working those many hours, those many schedules, and those many alternate timelines, all of it to make a product that everybody loves. And I call it a product because eventually it is something that is up there for consumption.
Exactly.
But when it is critically acclaimed, when there is a recognition, when somebody says, hey, that was really nice, whether it's these short films that I produced with Indrani, or whether it's the bigger films that I executive produced with bigger companies, there's such pride and joy knowing that these were a little different from everything that's out there.
Correct.
My time was well spent. At the end of the day, the journey is about time on this. And if the time is well spent by being appreciated, then you just feel, that, okay, let me find similar, subjects to invest my time in. And that's what you start to do. Then you kind of start separating what you truly want to do and what's just bringing in the money or just bringing in, just work. You start to differentiate, and, then you start to focus on at least attempting to do work that will be appreciated. We don't know how much, but at least it's worth your time, really.
Okay, now let me just switch this for, to something a bit more cozier. I do that every time I have someone in the conversation, because I know fiction reflects reality. So as a person, how, because I know I've never been in India, I've never been in Mumbai, although it's a city soon. I would love, it's my dream, to visit Mumbai, in particular Mumbai, because I understand
We're waiting.
So how, if I were to go down to Mumbai, for example, and let's say that Tanvi is driving me down around, showing me.
Oh, lovely. I like that.
So, and I wanted to go to a place where I would say Mumbai cuisine is being served. So where would you take me, and what type of cuisine you think you would use to impress me?
So the first thing, probably I would prepare you for 2-3 things. One is that be prepared for a roller coaster ride on the roads.
Really?
It's going to be very unlike what you have experienced, because there's going to be dodging of people, of bikes, of scooters, of three-wheelers, and it's a wonderful, chaotic ride. So, gear up, seatbelt on, let's do it. And that would be on the Mumbai streets. Another thing that you would love, and while I take you to where you should go and eat food, is to see the wonderful sea on the side, which will be great. It's a seaside city, and it's one of our bestest things. So you'll enjoy. I mean, I know you're from Florida, so water is not like the most exciting thing for you,
but it is right now.
But and finally, to take you at, let's say, the cuisine, it would be the street food. The Mumbai and Bombay chaat or Bombay street food is very, very popular. So you have these little, by the pavement, you have these little kiosks, little shops, right, where they have these wonderful, bread and potato thing. It's called vada pav. Then there is something called pav bhaji, which is again a street food, which is bread and another version of potato. Then there is something to drink. There's juices. There's a lot of wonderful street food. I will prepare you with a medication, so your stomach.
Me up with it too.
So your stomach is safe as well. But I think that would be fun because it's really yummy. It's cheap, and it's the real flavor of Bombay and India. Our street food, honestly.
Okay. Let me just switch this for a second. because I know growing up, that passion for film production. Uh, if I were to ask you a question, who you would consider as your favorite executive producer, or it doesn't have to be Indian.
Yes.
Who that person would be.
That's a very interesting question, and I'm not sure if I have the answer as such, but I'm inspired, to be honest with you, by people who are risk takers and have at least tried to make stuff which is outside of the norm.
Okay.
And anybody who's a female producer or a male, anybody who feels like, okay, you know what, I believe in this script and I'm going to make it no matter what. I would support those people. I would be like, so my no name is coming to my head at the moment, but in India, I would say, because I worked with them, there's a big company called Yash Raj Films. You must Google them, Dr. Isma. They're one of the biggest, largest companies in the world, almost, over the kind of films that they've made. And I was very fortunate to have been a part of that company. Right. I was the first female executive producer ever taken in by them. It has been a male job so far for them, and I was the first one. So I felt very privileged that that I entered the gates and I experienced a big production house that was very instrumental in many big things happening in India. So from that point of view, I feel like, I'm glad that I was at least a little part of their journey. But I'm all for anybody and everybody who's strong and brave to make some very important stories, no matter what.
Because I know also you read a lot. Okay. Now, if I were to ask you who you would consider as a favorite author.
Favorite author. Okay, I've been reading, and I really enjoy reading her. Actually, it's a Turkish author called Elif Shafak. She's Turkish and she lives in London. And she's written a lot of wonderful stories about, home and being away from home and women. There is this one book she wrote called 40 Rules of Love. It's about this poet, I don't know if you've heard of him, called Rumi. Dr. Isma, he's a Persian poet. And he's spoken about some wonderful stuff about love, about the Sufi soul. And in the book, the lady on her 40th birthday visits Konya, and she lives in America. She's American. She visits Konya, which is a place in Turkey where he's buried. And so I was so inspired after reading that book. I went to Konya on my 40th birthday.
Wow.
I did. And I saw the shrine of this poet, Rumi. Okay. And that was a life-changing experience for me. Yeah. I feel like mystically connected to him and his teachings and his poems. And so she actually currently is the person I'm reading, called Elif Shafak.
Okay. So that's very good. As we get into the end of our conversation, I tell you what, Tanvi, I really wanted to spend the rest of the day talking to you. You're so jovial.
Oh, thank you. I love that. We can continue off record.
Okay. Now, what's the next project at this point? What is the next project? Or the one that you're currently working on? Can you share that with us? With me, not the audience now.
Yes, so I literally just wrapped an Estonian short film that was shot in New Delhi, and it was a wonderful film where it's a female empowering story where the family lives in New Delhi in a slum and they're rag pickers, and it's quite wonderful. I'm very excited for that to come out. That's an Estonian short film, very interesting. There is something that is we are hoping to take forward, which a film which Indrani has written and will direct. So just trying to put that sort of together. Very excited about that, and fingers crossed. Apart from that, I think they're just conversations. You're reading a lot of stuff. You're assessing where should you be spending your time, what should you be pushing. I think that's important. And as an independent producer, it's not like I have a lot of, I have to work very hard. to convert something, to be very honest. But that's the challenge that I'm happy to take up right now. I also have a production company in UAE. So I'm going to be going there to sort of try and do some meetings. So yeah,
And where you saying?
This is in Abu Dhabi in UAE.
Okay.
So I'd be going there to do some meetings and figure out some stuff there. So it's the year's looking like there's some travel coming up. There's some meetings.
So, Tanvi, you just don't stop. I mean.
I should stop slightly after my health scare. I should take it slightly easy, but I am taking it easy, to be honest with you. I'm enjoying my time now. Okay. It's very precious.
Okay.
It's but yes, I should take it easy. I'll not go rolling like that. Okay. Go step by step.
Okay. So my last question: any really advice you want to give to a young executive producer? Because I know the challenge is sometimes, you just say it, for independent filmmakers can be pretty big. But yeah. What advice would you give young producers like you?
So, anybody entering the field, Dr. Isma, any young person from any part of the world that wants to get into the wonderful world of movies and films and OTT and series and, this wonderful, creation that lives beyond us. It's for posterity, actually. I feel like you need to be driven by extreme passion, but always stay balanced, Right. Success and failure will hit you the same way, both of them. So it's important to kind of stay centered through this entire journey, I feel. You should never get overswayed by the success. You should never be bogged down by nothing happening. You need to constantly believe that you will do something will happen, you will create, and that energy keeps you going, and that's what you should be doing. And as young people, I feel all the young people out there need to work hard. They need to understand that this requires patience and perseverance. And that's one thing that I feel that the new generation kind of, I don't know whether it lacks, but they just feel like, oh, it's all instant. Let's just move from here or whatever. But I think you need a little bit of consistency going forward and belief.
And on this powerful note, I just want to say it's been more than a pleasure to have compelling executive producer joining me from Mumbai, India.
Thank you.
It's wonderful morning. I don't know, on your end, it might be
Friday evening,
right?
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful catching up with you, and thank you for considering me for this conversation.